All right, everybody, welcome back to the Move Podcast, a special episode of the Move Podcast. Not talking about any racing per se, but talking about two shows. One show, of course, has been around for a couple of years, La Movida. But we're also here to announce a brand new show called Outcomes. We'll get into a little bit of that here in a second. I'm joined by JB Hager down there in Austin, Texas. Johan Bruyneel with a super boring backdrop today. George Hincapie down in the wine cellar, stretching out for the ride later with Bobby and Christian. and our new friend, Spencer Martin. Get a load of this guy. And with the bum shoulder, took a little spill on some downhill gravel the other day and broke his Radiohead record, apparently. Come on. I thought in the pre-show, I thought it was funny. Let's jump in. We're and I've we alluded to this last year on the main show during the tour. This call it a phenomenon, call it an industry really of sports betting has become so huge here in the US. And cycling is not immune to that or different than any other sport. There is, as all the degenerate gamblers say, there is action, right? And perhaps more action than in most sports. And so as we spent about a year studying the idea of this show, looking at even making predictions off the record internally and seeing how our panel of experts have done. I will just tell you quickly, it's pretty astonishing when you think about this is not the classic sense of sports betting where you have team A versus team B and there's a spread and you pick one team. I mean, here you have 200 guys rolling down the road. You have a lot of other prop bets, the head-to-heads, young rider, all the different classifications. And of course, our main Svengali here is Johan Bruyneel. The success rate is astronomical. It's impressive to go back and look at Johan's last year of predictions. So we decided to spin up a show. We're going to call it Outcomes. Just to know, this show will be for members only. So got to be a member to listen to Johan and to Spencer. This show, of course, will be led by Spencer and Johan, but pretty exciting. Lots and lots of action. And I think also worth noting, as of today or as of now, it's really just the big tours, the world championships, and the Olympic Games. So we haven't seen any quote unquote action on the American sites for the classics and for, other sort of second tier stage races. So, guys, this is, and by the way, it starts Friday. We're going to, the first episodes of Outcomes will launch here with this Giro, which of course starts Friday in Hungary. Spencer, I'm going to turn it over to you for a second. What do you think? I mean, I'm incredibly excited about this.
You should be. It's a wide open Giro d'Italia, which it lacks a lot of the big names, but that means there's a lot of value out there in the betting market. Johan and I have been talking back and forth over the past week about, who we think is going to win the overall, who's good for the podium and top 10, as well as the other jerseys like Sprint and King of the Mountains. And it's just, there's a lot of value in this market. And, you have Richard Carapaz, who's really, really the strong favorite for the overall win. It's very likely he will win, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion by any stretch of the imagination. So it's really a good time to, if you have not bet on cycling so far, since it's been legalized in the United States, which is fairly recently, it's a great time to get in, and it's going to be a great race. I mean, the Giro is one of the most beautiful and exciting races on the calendar, in my opinion.
No doubt.
And Spencer, let me chime in here, Lance. Sorry. Like you said, Spencer, we're going to provide some valuable content. We have meetings once a week on this show talking about how can we provide value to our members. Well, now we're going to get you two gurus giving the predictions on a daily basis to our members. So I think this is a really unique thing for us to do. I'm super proud of the team for coming up with that. And knowing Johan and his tactical sense, I knew there's not many people. We always talk about the breakaway. I call it the art of the breakaway, where you have your panic cooking breakaways, which is very, very tough to predict, but you got your hard breakaways where it's a really tough, rolling, hilly stage. And not many people can make those breakaways. The riders are different now, but the courses are very similar and the tactics are the same. So I think Johan, between you and Johan predicting those breakaways and who can make it, I mean, that's something that not many people in the cycling world can predict as good as you two.
And something that we allude to often, but don't get too specific on, still the kind of the inside track, so to speak, into really what is going on in the peloton, lines of communication with directors, with riders, with organizers, with journalists. So much to be gained there. I think it's worth noting because we are sort of on this wave here in the United States, and of course, people have been betting on cycling in Europe for a long, long time, going back, before our days. But there's this wave in the US with legislation coming along. Right now, it's currently legal in 18 states. And just we know we have listeners in all 50 states plus all over the world, but just to save you all a Google search, I'll just read off the 18 that are currently legal. So you can go on any of the sites, whether it's DraftKings, BetMGM, PointsBet, all the sites. If you watch any sports, like every other ad is some betting app. The 18 states are Arkansas, Colorado, Delaware, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Mississippi, Montana, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, New Mexico, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, West Virginia, and Washington, D.C. If you're in the other, 32 places, you're going to have to wait a little bit.
Because those sites make you show proof of residence. You can't just log on even to a European betting site.
It's tough. I mean, and for those also, and I think it's probably important to note, those looking for the hack, these sites have got it pretty figured out. I'm sitting here in Colorado, so it knows that I'm in Colorado, but the VPN, I don't think is a workaround. So I think you really do have to be in one of those 18 states. And the other interesting thing, and I want to talk to you about this too, Spencer, since you've studied this so closely. If we just isolate Carapaz, and right, all of the sites have him as the number one favorite to win the overall. By the way, this is a 3-week bike race with 200 other guys on open roads with, all kinds of conditions. There's no guarantees, and there's no guarantee on any of this, but all of the sites have him as the clear favorite. But the differential across all the sites, it's not great, but I mean, we're talking, 10 to 25% differences on the odds.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Johan, do you want to handle that one?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would also want to add that even for the second and the third and the fourth, it keeps changing constantly. There's a set of predetermined guys who are most likely going to make it in the top 5, top 10. But we had Carapaz is the big favorite. Then you had Simon Yates, who was in second. Now all of a sudden there's another guy in second, based on the information. So I think, first of all, I want to say that I'm super, super excited that we can do the show. It is what I like to do. I'm following all the races. And as you said, Lance, I maintain a lot of contacts and lines of communication inside the peloton, which I think is super, super important. So I already put out my lines for this Giro, and so it's gonna change constantly, and I think that's the beauty of it. That this is a 3-week race, and so many things are happening, and we constantly have to adapt our predictions and our analysis based on what's happening, what we can read, and mostly on what we don't know, but we can find out through our privileged access to some of the main actors.
One of the most exciting things I'm looking forward to is because it's one thing to say, okay, tomorrow is a dead flat stage. There is a team that hasn't had a win. They have the fastest guy in the race. We can all figure out what's going to happen, right? They're going to control the race. They got the fastest guy. They're going to win the stage. That, that's not a great bet. The things that start to get fun are the head-to-heads, right? And so as we were studying this last year during the tour, roughly every day there are 10 head-to-heads, and the shit gets so crazy, right? They'll have a head-to-head on an uphill finish, which would be, last year's tour would be Pogačar versus, whoever, Vingegaard. But they'll throw in a head-to-head on an uphill finish and vice versa. They'll throw a head-to-head in a sprint finish between two sprinters on the uphill finish and two GC guys on the sprint finish. So you're just trying to learn, you're trying to bet on who in the sprint finish, for example, who can stay closer to the front, which of course we know is where you're supposed to be to avoid crashes and carnage. But there is so much opportunity there to on that example of a flat day, like which of these GC guys has the team to keep him up front? Which of these GC guys has the stones to stay up front? Like it's endless. And so I think that's going to be some cool action.
I think something that would be really helpful for our viewers, they're familiar with all you guys, especially with Johan and his history at picking. By the way, we were tracking that last year. It's very impressive. But I think it'd be good for our audience, our general audience, to hear about why you decided to bring Spencer Martin into this and his background. They probably may have stumbled across his writing elsewhere, and it's been included in our newsletter. But I'd like to hear how that all came together, and to save Spencer from having to tell everybody about himself, right?
Yeah. He's in pain. He's in pain today. He broke his Radiohead cassette.
Yeah. But, tell us about how this came together.
I met Spencer. We met a few years ago through our mutual friend, Steve Maxwell, who, by the way, also, he just texted me yesterday. He blew out an Achilles, he told me. So what are you guys, just like sharing bad luck?
Yeah, no, we're cursed. Yeah. We were just talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
It's not good over here.
So we, maintain contact, and I started subscribing to Spencer's email Beyond the Peloton, which for those of you who really want to get into the weeds and break down this sport, as you probably should, if this show is interesting to you, Beyond the Peloton, and the hardest critic on this whole cast right here would be Johan. Johan started getting the newsletter. He called me one day. He's like, hey, this Spencer guy, he really knows what he's talking about. I said, no shit, I can only get through like half of it. I was like, all right, that's enough bike stuff. But super, super detailed. You see the level of passion and attention that's being paid to it. And we just started this conversation. What I didn't know is the guy's has got a voice made for radio.
Right.
I found out today, Spencer, that you have I listened to your podcast today, by the way. So
that's too much pressure, Johan. I don't want you listening to that. That's a private feed.
But no, it's great to have Spencer on that. You guys started reading what he's been writing. You were like, okay, this guy knows his stuff, which, let's be honest, you don't say that about very many people, including people working in pro racing right now. I think that's
and then just the one thing, sorry, JB, is in it with, because there are, I don't think there are a lot of people that cover the sport that really know what's going on and can articulate that to the masses. And even if they try, it always kind of comes with this level of snark, right? And I love Spencer's straightforward approach. It's like reading, an article in the Wall Street Journal about the markets or inflation. It's just like, this is what is happening, right? And so I've really appreciated that.
And this is important for our listeners to understand. If you want to get involved in outcomes, you will need to join a season pass at WEDU.team, but you will get it on a feed on your device as audio, just like you would any podcast. But you do need to be a member of Season Pass to get that access, to be able to get it. But you'll be able to access it whenever, wherever you go in your mobile device. And I think the goal, guys, is to keep that pretty short and to the point, so people can get their bets placed and
right
on each day, especially through the Grand Tours.
That Spence, that might be worth touching on. I mean, I do think you can elaborate, but the goal is just get in, get out, right? We don't need to. We have a lot of other shows where we opine and try to crack jokes and read ads and all the other stuff. So this is get in, get out, right?
Yeah. And because it's a subscription product, it doesn't have to be long because we don't have to sell ads on it. So it's really just for the consumers who are paying for it. We're going to keep it as short as possible, without while giving enough information that you feel confident in your betting or even just following the sport and want to be smarter about it. And, I think when I first talked to Lance about it, you said it would be like, like a more fun version of like an investor's call or a quarterly report, where it's really going to be to the point and you're just going to come in, get a lot of information, get out, not going to take up a lot of your time. And you do have to join the season pass, but I think, just having access to Johan's picks, like it's going to pay for itself and then some. So it's really just an upfront investment, and you'll get paid that, by multiples on the back end.
Right. No pressure, Johan. And like many of these shows, and we'll figure out the language and the legalese. I mean, these are thoughts and maybe I'll just stop there with thoughts. These are in no way guarantees. This is not anything. These are just our thoughts, and so folks can choose to opt in or opt out. But we have to really, really reiterate that this is just a few guys sitting around riffing, looking at what the odds makers have given us as the next day's potential. But these are just our thoughts, and you folks do what you want.
And let's talk about timing. So the odds come out sometime after the stage. When are Johan and Spencer going to hopefully release the show on a daily basis?
It's a great question. And I think we'll figure it out real fast. I think that the odds makers and the houses, the betting houses, will be pretty consistent on when they release the next day's odds on whether it's stage win or head to head or whatever. So I think the goal, and you guys back me up, I think the goal is to have this show out as soon as possible. So the odds come up. Again, it's a short 10 to 15 minute show. Knock it out. This is also worth noting, this is an audio only show. So it won't be available on Facebook or YouTube, but I think it's best for us, especially in light of the European audience, that we have that show out ASAP.
Yeah. Well, we said Spencer, we said 9:30 European time as the latest, right?
Yeah. Unless the odd, I'm assuming as Lance is saying, the odds are going to come out pretty fast. So when Johan's done with his 2 other shows, we'll get on and get it out by bedtime in Europe.
Yeah.
All right. Normal bedtime or my bedtime?
Johan's bedtime.
Exactly. You don't have a bedtime.
We don't let him sleep through all 3 grand tours.
Yeah. We should provide certain members just access to the group chat so you can see just the crazy hours that we get messages from Johan. It's like, I'm about to go to bed. He's texting. I'm like, wait a minute. What's going on? He's not just waking. Anyway. All right. Let's also talk about La Movida. This is a show that's been around for a couple of years. This thing has exploded. I think the real update today is that up till now, all of the shows, whether it's, my original show, The Forward, The Move, JB Squared, and La Movida, have sat under this WEDU umbrella. And so what we've done now, just because folks were seeming to have a hard time, because it is its own standalone special show, but it was sitting in the feed on iTunes or Spotify, all these things, it's really under the WEDU feed. So
that's the move.
As the move. And so we pulled that out. La Movida will stand alone as its own show. And Johan, you can talk to this better than us, but what started first is just you and our old teammate Victor Hugo Peña, as of course a Spanish speaking show. You've now added other characters on the show, which has made it, I really think has leveled it up big time. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we added Mario Sabato last year for the tour, but he's become a real member of our team. He's very, very popular. He's the commentator for ESPN South America, and a part of that, the fact that we have so many South American good cyclists. I mean, even now, for the Giro, we have Carapaz as the big favorite. We have Bernal, we have Superman Lopez, we have plenty of guys. So super popular in South America. And so, we're really happy the way it's going and the feedback we're getting. So there's also a lot of North American listeners or viewers who speak Spanish. Some of them even listen to both shows and they say, okay, it's good to refresh my Spanish because they kind of know already what it's about. So I'm super excited with La Movida and the way it's growing.
Really
So,
excited.
Johan, let's talk about Mario and Victor are slowly becoming the voices of South American cycling. I mean, the passion that they have when they commentate on these races
Right.
is unlike many other commentators across the world. I'm a big fan of both of them. Of course, I'm a great friend of yours. I think the combination of you three is huge. Personally, I'm a huge fan of La Movida. You guys deserve to have your own platform. Love to see it growing.
And for those, when
and
we
by
say
the way,
passion,
I still hope I get my guest invites right once in a while, because I know you kind of don't like having me on there.
Whenever it fits your schedule, George.
Exactly, George. I'm sorry,
I'll
George.
be on there. I'll be on there.
The guy, he walked right into that one. I mean, everybody here was just like, oh, okay. Well, between which ride on which day would you like to come on as a guest?
We'll make it happen.
Hey, I'll add to that. If people haven't noticed, on the last few races of the Spring Classics, we have also added La Movida to our YouTube channel. So people are checking that out there as well.
And can also now be watched live for our members from the WEDU portal.
Yeah.
Excellent. And this Sabado, I don't watch a lot of soccer, although this guy asked me today, he's like, hey, you can watch the soccer match today? I'm like, fuck no, I'm not going to watch a soccer match. Like a bunch of guys falling down, faking injuries. No, I'm not watching. But, like if you watch like a classic, like, Mexican league game or South American, league game, there's always that guy when somebody scores, like the commentators scream, go, whatever he says. Sabado's kind of that. He's that animated, right? He's that dude
all the time, all the time.
That's amazing.
Yeah. No, it's a show on its own. It's a show on its own. Of course, in La Movida, we're going into the tactics and we keep it very, very technical. But hearing him live commentating a race, it's a spectacle. It's crazy.
A spectacle?
A spectacle, I said.
Never mind. Okay, cool. This is a good overview. All right, we got it, folks. We're launching Outcomes. Again, reminder, this is a sports betting specific show. Must be a member of the WEDU family. Head to WEDU.team, and also must live in one of the 18 states, at least here domestically, where sports betting is legal. Europe, whole nother frontier. By the way, the odds are not that dissimilar from.
They're very similar. They're very
So for our European or international audience, just know that. And then pushing out La Movida is its own standalone show. So much easier to find. And I think you folks who either speak Spanish or, maybe want to brush up on your Spanish, hell of a place to go turn to for that.
Cool. That covers about everything. Yeah. Good job.
Thank you, buddy. See, it's funny. Before we got on today, we're like, the five of us were like,
I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. We're like, wait, what are we doing again? I was like, I was down at the hockey game last night. Like I saw it on my calendar this morning. I was like, oh, I guess we're doing something. By the way, for those who haven't been to an NHL game, I've never been to a hockey game necessarily. This was, man, incredible. Maybe it's because it was the playoffs and we were at home, but it was incredible. So
I agree with you. NHL Live is one of the best things in sport.
Yeah, you watch it on TV and you're like, okay, change channel. Live, man, the athleticism and just the warrior nature of these guys, they don't give a fuck about anything. Like they all wanted to just fight. I was like, this is amazing. Crowd was loving it. Maybe so
so what I'm hearing is we're launching a hockey show.
We're going to, no, we're not. You're not hearing that. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And if this is interesting, which I personally think it is, join the club, head on over to WEDU.team and listen to these two badasses. Go at it. All right. Thanks, y'all.